Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the ranking member. You know, I have noticed a theme with Republican hearing titles that always seem to have one word of truth in them, but they are strung together by callous duplicity, or as the chair said, lies. Betrayal is the word of truth today, and it is an incredibly accurate description of what Musk, Trump, and silent Republicans are doing to the American people. By unilaterally dismantling our entire foreign assistance apparatus, you have endangered every American who relies on that system to keep them safe from global crises and that relies on them to feed their own family. Not only that, but you have betrayed some of the stakeholders that I thought my colleagues cared most about: our farmers, our veterans, faith-based groups, diaspora communities in all of our districts, and the Constitution. Not to mention the people who have tragically died because you have ripped away the life-saving assistance they need to survive, and for no good reason. I was struck by the opening remarks of the chair. The chair mentioned helping people to vote. And why do Republicans not support the right to vote? There was a reference to all of these small dollars going to people in need who just happen to be of the LGBTQ community. And why are the Republicans, who actually crashed Grindr, the gay dating app, during the RNC, so focused on the LGBTQ community? But let's circle back to what the real betrayal looks like. First, there's the fact that Elon Musk ripped up the Constitution and our system of checks and balances by illegally dismantling USAID with zero congressional input. Congress is not a peanut gallery. It has constitutional oversight authorities that have been categorically violated. But this weaponization of government has been met with deafening silence, betrayal. And now to the so-called woke programming. The farmers. USAID's humanitarian assistance is a major source of income for American farmers, $2.1 billion in 2020. Farmers supply 41% of the food aid that USAID uses to feed starving people around the world, meaning that farmers' livelihoods directly benefit from these programs. The foreign aid freeze rips away their incomes while condemning vulnerable people to famine, betrayal. And veterans. American service members fought for decades in Afghanistan. Many of them are only alive today because the heroic service of Afghan interpreters, like my brother-in-law who served. And these folks we have worked with tirelessly to evacuate to the United States. But Trump canceled the refugee admissions program and left them behind, abandoned by the very people who use them for political gain and then ripped the rug out from underneath them at the first chance they got. Betrayal. And then the Christians. USAID supports numerous faith-based groups in implementing humanitarian assistance in some of the world's worst hotspots because their faith teaches them that every human life has dignity, is sacred, and is worth saving. Cutting off aid has forced massive layoffs at these organizations and desecrated their life's work. I guess no one cares about religious freedom when it interferes with a billionaire's political agenda. Betrayal. And diaspora communities. USAID's support for Pakistani democracy organizations and flood relief efforts is now gone. Students in Burma benefiting from USAID scholarships have now been deprived of a better future. Venezuelans who relied on USAID-funded integration services to build a life outside of Maduro's oppressive regime are now left in the lurch, and the Republicans are deporting them back into terror. You can claim to support any of these communities. How you can do that is beyond me. It is hypocrisy and it is betrayal. And finally, the American people. Every American is less safe today because USAID is not out in the field, stopping crises from reaching our shores. If there was a pandemic-like disease outbreak that risked spreading to our shores, we could not respond. If there was a natural disaster in Mexico or the Caribbean that would drive people to our border, we could not respond. The dismantling of those protections is an unequivocal betrayal of the American people. Oh, but what about that new $400 million contract the State Department is just signing with Tesla for Cybertrucks? Because I guess people need Cybertrucks more than they need malaria pills. So now to my questions, if I have time. Mr. Yoho, in your testimony, you touched on the important work of American farmers and the work of American universities in USAID Feed the Future Innovation Labs. what capabilities do we lose domestically, and what domestic constituencies do we hurt by eliminating these programs?
Those are important programs that have worked, and by this pause that we have right now, I think the goal is, instead of putting blame everywhere, we focus on how we get these things back online to do the work they have done. If you look at like the RUTF program, the Ready-to-Use Therapeutic Food Program, that saved over 17 million children, and it sources products from 27 different states in America that provide, income for our farmers. And those are things that we need to get back online as soon as we can. And I think you'll see that. There is a reset. It had to happen. Shame on us when I was in Congress that we didn't do these things earlier. It's done. Can't go back. We can only go forward.
Thank you, and I yield back. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.